Basically, I've done my master's in gerontology from the UK, only because we didn't have the course out here in Mumbai or even in India. So I studied the subject for 1 year, and I also worked with the UK government to understand what kind of services are provided to older adults out there. So gerontology is basically the holistic study of aging. Okay, and the main purpose of gerontology is to improve the quality of life of older adults. So it basically studies what kind of services need to be provided for older adults. What is normal aging, what is abnormal aging. And the other, I think, interesting thing about gerontology is that it is a vast science, and most importantly, it is multidisciplinary in nature. So it borrows from a lot of physical sciences, social sciences. So there are a lot of subfields within gerontology. So I have done my master's in social gerontology, which looks into the social aspects related to aging. There is something called geropsychology, which takes into account the psychological issues that older adults have. There is gerotechnology, which looks at what kind of technological devices are required for older adults. Then there is educational gerontology, which looks into what kind of educational courses older adults require, what kind of pace do they require. Then there is gerodontology, which deals with what kind of dental issues older adults have. Geriatrics, I'm sure, all of you know, because Dr. Prem has been there on this platform quite a few times. So this is in brief about gerontology. And should I share my study of something? Hence the term gerontology. And it's quite, it's surprising, and at the same time, it's sad that this term was coined by a physicist called Elie Metchnikoff in 1903. It was done in 1903, and now we are in 2023, and still, there is not much awareness about gerontology. So it is our attempt to, create awareness about this subject. So if I'm not going to die because of an accident or maybe due to an illness, I'm definitely going to grow old. So I need to be prepared, and I need to know, how I can face old age in a positive way and a more meaningful way. Okay, so should I share the presentation? So आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है, दैट इज रैशनल इमोटिव बिहेवियर थेरेपी. तो ये जो है, आई नीड टू गो फर्दर. ओके, so I don't know whether you might have heard of this, सुना होगा, या फिर एल्बर्ट एलिस बहुत जाने माने, he is a very well known psychologist. So he is the one who developed this. It is a therapy as well as a philosophy. Okay, so which was developed in the 1950s. और ये बहुत सारे जो psychological problems है, like anxiety, depression, तो बहुत सारे जो प्रॉब्लम्स है, साइकोलॉजिकल इश्यूज हैं, तो उनके साथ कैसे डील करना है, एंड हाउ डू यू सक्सेसफुली मैनेज देम. सो दिस इज व्हाट REBT टीचेस. और ये जनरली हम लोग देखते हैं कि towards old age there is a lot of anxiety which is there is a lot of fear which is there. तो वो कैसे कम कर सकते हैं, एंड सेकेंडली how do we accept old age in a more in a better way. So that is what REBT can teach us. Okay, so this was developed by a very well-known psychologist. He was a clinical psychologist, and then he studied psychoanalysis. So he became a psychoanalyst also. So this therapy was developed in 1950s. So it was developed by Albert Ellis. तो एल्बर्ट एलिस, आपने शायद सिगमंड फ्रॉइड का नाम सुना होगा, वो भी एक बहुत वेल नोन साइकियाट्रिस्ट थे. एंड बेसिकली जो साइको एनालिसिस है, तो उसमें जनरली जो भी कोई साइकोलॉजिकल प्रॉब्लम्स होंगे, तो इट emphasized a lot on talk therapy. यानी client होगा, there will be a psychiatrist or there will be a psychologist, and then the client talks to the psychiatrist or the psychologist. तो ये जो टॉक थेरेपी है, तो दैट वाज वो सिगमंड फ्रॉइड ने डेवलप किया था। तो उसमें जनरली टॉक थेरेपी पे बहुत देयर वाज अ लॉट ऑफ एम्फेसिस ऑन दैट, एंड it was Albert Ellis. There was a lot of emphasis on that. That was one thing. And secondly, Sigmund Freud gave a lot of importance to childhood. तो चाइल्डहुड में जो कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं, so that generally a person carries that forward. And if you try and analyze the person's childhood, then you will be able to find some solutions for the problems that the person is facing in adulthood. So that is what Sigmund Freud said. But ये जो एल्बर्ट एलिस थे, तो उन्होंने कहा कि during psychoanalysis he had to study Freud, because Freud was like the most well-known theory at that time. So he studied psychoanalysis, and he felt that people through talk therapy were feeling better, but they were not getting better. Okay, so he developed his own philosophy as well as therapy for helping people with psychological problems. So it is a philosophy of life which is aimed at psychological health. How can we build resilience? How can we be more strong mentally, physically? And how do we bring in happiness, and how do we bring more meaning in our life? Okay, so this is what REBT aims at, and how do we reduce the anxiety that we face, when we are aging. ओके, सो दूसरा ये है कि जैसे मैंने कहा कि साइकोएनालिसिस दैट वाज लाइक द मोस्ट डोमिनेंट philosophy and therapy at that time. So REBT ये जो है, तो it differed from the mainstream therapies mainly in the importance that it placed on discussing and adapting how clients think. तो इसमें ये जो REBT है, तो हमारी जो thought process है, what kind of beliefs we have about a particular thing. So the emphasis is on that, how we think about things, what kind of beliefs we have towards a particular event or maybe a particular situation. So the emphasis is purely on how we think. Okay, so that is what REBT looks into or focuses on. Okay, so Albert Ellis, he studied psychology, and he also studied philosophy because he was interested in that subject. So he studied this philosopher, and the philosopher's name was Epictetus. Okay, so it was Epictetus. He was, so he was born in AD 50. So quite a well-known philosopher also. And it was Epictetus who said that it is people's own beliefs and ideas as opposed to external events that cause emotional and behavioral disturbances. Okay, so I'll read that again. It is people's own ideas and beliefs as opposed to external events that cause emotional and behavioral disturbances. Okay, now let us take the example of a person who is aging. Okay, so aging में अगर समझो, if I say suppose one thing which is quite common in aging is wrinkles. Okay, so let us take the example of wrinkles. तो मुझे लगता है अगर wrinkles आ गए, so then I feel that अरे I am aging, then there is fear, there is dread, and then I feel that I should not have these wrinkles, or that मुझे लगता है कि I'll face a lot of problems if these wrinkles are there. So what Epictetus is telling us is that not everyone who has wrinkles will be fearful. Not everyone who has wrinkles will, will there be emotional disturbance. So, so what he is trying to say is the meaning that I attach to the wrinkles is what is causing the problem. ओके तो ये जो रिंकल्स है सभी को होते हैं वृद्धत्व में, तो ये सभी लोग उससे विचलित या फिर उससे डर नहीं जाते हैं. ओके तो ये हम लोग जो उसको मीनिंग अटैच करते हैं, या फिर अगर मेरी बिलीफ होगी अरे मेरे को रिंकल्स आ गए अभी कैसे होगा, लोग मुझे देखेंगे कि नहीं, तो ये जो मेरा this fear which is there, okay, so that is caused by the meaning that I am attaching to those wrinkles. It is not caused by the wrinkles in itself. It is caused by the meanings or the beliefs that I have towards those wrinkles. Okay, so this is what Epictetus said, and that basically influenced Ellis a lot. Secondly, so this was the quote, the Epictetus quote which influenced Ellis, and the whole of REBT is based on this. Okay, so Epictetus said that people are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them. Okay, so they are not disturbed by things in itself, but by the view that they have of them. Again, another example I'll give you of, say suppose I'm stuck in traffic. Okay, तो सभी लोग ये ट्रैफिक से एकदम विचलित नहीं हो जाते हैं. There are some people who are very calm. Okay, so when they are driving, there are some people who will be very angry. There are some people who will start fighting with others. So it is my belief that when I am going out, there should not be much traffic. I should not have to face traffic whenever I leave home. Okay, so it is because I am saying that to myself, because I have this belief regarding traffic, I am causing emotional disturbance to myself. Okay, so that is what Epictetus is saying. So people are not disturbed by wrinkles, as we took the example of wrinkles, but by the view that they take of these wrinkles or the beliefs that I have regarding the wrinkles or the traffic, which is the other example which we saw. So he was also influenced by this this poet called Milton. Okay, so Milton is also a very well-known poet after Shakespeare in the English language. तो ये मिल्टन के कोट, मिल्टन के जो स्टडी था या फिर उनके जो पोएम्स थे, सो एलिस वाज आल्सो वेरी मच इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय दैट. सो मिल्टन हैज सेड दैट द माइंड इज इट्स ओन प्लेस and in itself can make a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. Okay, so mind is very powerful, and it can make a heaven of hell and hell of heaven. Okay, so mind will decide how we are going to look at things and what kind of attitude I have towards a particular situation. Okay, so the next one. So in REBT, Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, the goal of happiness, we all of us want to be happy. Okay, so that is the goal. Okay, so Ellis is saying that if our goal of being happy is thwarted, yani it is blocked in some way, then we can respond in ways that are either healthy and helpful or unhealthy or unhelpful. So we will respond in two ways. One way is the healthy way, the other one is the unhealthy way. Okay, and the main emphasis is on how we can transform this unhealthy way of thinking or looking at things into a more realistic and healthy way of looking at situations. Okay, so he is telling us how we can do that. Okay, so this again, he tried to explain, REBT through the exam, through taking the help of A, B and C. So generally REBT को A, B, C model करके कहा जाता है. So what is this A? So A is the activating event, यानी any negative event like wrinkles or fear of old age. So activating event. The second is the belief. As we were saying, the belief that I attribute, the belief that I attach to that particular event, the negative event which has happened in my life. The third is the consequences. Okay, because of that belief that traffic should not be there, because of the belief that wrinkles are bad, that I should not have wrinkles, I am facing the consequence of being fearful, dreading it, having emotional disturbance. I am getting depressed and I am feeling miserable. Okay, so this is the consequence. So first is A stands for the activating event. Second is the belief that I'm attaching to that particular event. And the third is consequences. So consequences, ये यहाँ पे मैंने explain भी किया है. So activating event, something in the environment which triggers a negative response. What are my beliefs about that triggering event? And C stands for consequences, what you feel or do in response to that activating event. Okay, so ये ABC model आया समझ में? Have you understood that? So we'll go ahead. You are able to get me? You're able to hear me properly?
You're very clear.
Okay. Okay. So C stands for consequences. Okay. Now we'll go on to the next slide. So he said, Ellis said that negative event, there is a rational belief and there is a healthy negative emotion. Okay, so healthy negative emotions bhi kya hai, that also we will come to. But just to give you an example, there is a negative event. Say suppose I develop wrinkles. Second is I feel rational belief. So I feel, okay, now that I'm developing wrinkles, I am feeling a bit sad about that. So maybe I'm sad for some time. So that is a healthy negative emotion. In the irrational belief, what happens is I have wrinkles. So I believe that I should not have wrinkles. Okay, so I should not be made to go through this. And that is why I am feeling extremely miserable about having wrinkles. Okay, so that is a unhealthy negative emotion. And I will go to any extent to remove those wrinkles from my face or from my body. That is an unhealthy negative emotion. Okay. So Ellis is telling us that there are rational and irrational beliefs. Okay. So beliefs that help us in our goals, in our long-term goals, that help us in pursuing happiness, in the pursuit of happiness. Okay, that stop us from solving or adapting to problems are irrational beliefs. As we can, rather than complaining or whining about unkind fate. Okay, so rational beliefs are flexible, rational beliefs are non-extreme, and rational beliefs are more logical. So there are two kinds of beliefs. And now we need to, whatever irrational beliefs we have, that we need to change them into rational beliefs. Okay, so now I require that, Saleh, I require there are 12 irrational beliefs according to Ellis, which human beings generally have. Okay, so the first one is, I'm just going to read this out, and because it is very important, it says that the idea that it is a dire necessity for adults to be loved by significant others for almost everything they do. Okay, so there is this, these are basically, when he's talking about irrational beliefs, what we are saying is there are certain wants or there are certain demands which we have. And if those demands are not met, if those demands are not fulfilled, then I will cause a disturbance within myself. Okay, so these are musts, oughts. People should respect me because I am old. Okay, I should be loved by others. These are demands which we have. And if they are not met, then we have a lot of problems, emotional problems, which we have to deal with. And that is what he is talking about. So the first, this is idea that it is a dire necessity for adults to be loved by significant others for almost everything that they do. We feel that whatever we do, others should love us. Okay, so he's saying that instead of concentrating on their own self-respect or on winning approval for practical purposes. Okay, so uh, he says that it's not necessary that we should be loved and accepted by everyone. I'm just reading the beliefs. The logical or the rational part, maybe you can, this can be circulated later. The second irrational belief that we have is that certain acts are awful or wicked, and that people who perform such acts should be severely damned. Okay, so people who are not who don't fall into things that we approve of, we feel that those people are totally wicked. Okay, so I might not approve of, a certain thing that a person does, but what maybe I might do is, even if I don't approve that person's behavior, I will not look at him. I will totally ignore the person, and I will, maybe ostracize him, or maybe I will not converse with him at all. Okay, so the idea that certain acts are awful or wicked, and that some person and that people who perform such acts should be severely damned. So generally, when we are also dealing with children, we say that we need to look at the behavior and not totally disown the child, but the behavior is what is most important, that particular behavior. So we need to look at that. Okay, so but if a person does not do something that is which I feel is totally bad. Okay, so then if I feel that that person is doing something which is totally bad, then I will totally remove that person out of my network. Okay, so the other this is that the idea that it is horrible when things are not the way we like them to be. As I was saying, that it is horrible if there is a lot of traffic, then it is totally horrible, that it is unbearable and it should not be there when I am actually on the road. The other, can we go down, Saleh? The idea that human misery is invariably externally caused and is forced on us by outside people and events. Okay, so hum log generally, we do not want to take responsibility. We always feel that it is the external events. It is because this disease is there that I am feeling bad. It is because this person did not behave well with me that I am feeling miserable. So it is always the external causes we generally blame. Okay, so he is saying that these beliefs are irrational. Why? Because we feel that if these things happen, then I will not be able to bear it, and it creates emotional disturbance within us. Okay, the idea that if something is or maybe dangerous or fearsome, we should be terribly upset and endlessly obsess about it. So if I'm getting wrinkles, I will constantly keep on thinking about it. I will constantly be upset about that. I will visit 100 doctors. I will visit many doctors, and I will try and see how this problem can be, how there can be a solution for this problem. The other irrational belief that he's talking about is that it is easier to avoid than to face life's difficulties. Okay, so I should not have many problems in my life. Life should be easy for me. Okay, and if I have a lot of problems, then I will not be able to face them. Okay, so we generally tend to avoid problems. Okay. The other irrational belief that he's talking about is that we all absolutely need something other or stronger or greater than ourselves on which to rely. Okay, so even in old age, we feel that, we are dependent, we need someone, we won't be able to manage on our own at all. But we see at the same time, we see that there are so many older adults who are managing on their own, who are doing well on their own. Okay, so in case there is a need for us to do that, even we will be, we might have to do that. The other irrational belief that he's talking about is that we should be thoroughly competent, intelligent, and achieving in all possible respects. I should know everything. I should be intelligent. I should be competent. So this kind of uh, unrealistic kind of ideas we have regarding how situations should be in our life. Okay, I'll give you this example. All of you know Harivansh Rai Bachchan, Amitabh Bachchan's father. So he was a poet, as you all know. And he always used to say, which Amitabh Bachchan has also mentioned in Kaun Banega Crorepati. So uh, Harivansh Rai Bachchan always used to say that man ki ho to acha, man ki ho to acha, man ki na ho to aur bhi acha. ओके, तो अगर मन की नहीं, हमारे मन की अगर नहीं होती है, तो then we kind of get angry or we get fearful. Okay, so another this is irrational belief is that we must have control over things. Okay, so now we'll get back to the presentation. So I just wanted to give you an idea regarding what kind of irrational beliefs he is talking about. Can we come back to the presentation? Saleh? Saleh? Hello? Yeah, can we? Okay, so I mentioned some of the irrational beliefs which Ellis talked about. तो उसमें बहुत सारा must है, ऐसा होना ही चाहिए. ऐसे अगर नहीं होगा, तो then that will be like the end of the world. I cannot stand it. I cannot tolerate it. Okay, so it is these kind of demands which are there, which cause a lot of emotional problems. That is what Ellis is saying. And if these kind of irrational beliefs have to be transformed, then we have to move on to rational beliefs. Okay, so rational beliefs यानी क्या? They comprise of preferences. Okay, so I would be maybe more happy if maybe I'm not suffering from any physical ailment. Okay, but this demand that I should not have any disease, I should be totally free of disease. When that is the goal, then that is a problem. The second, this is anti-awfulizing. Awful, we all know the word awful. So if this happens, if I have a disease, then that is awful, totally awful, unbearable. I will not be able to tolerate it. So he's saying that although maybe, facing that disease might be a problem, might be difficult, but it is not unbearable. There are a lot of other people who are facing it and maybe who are dealing with it well. Okay, so anti-awfulizing. If I tell myself that this is totally awful, then I basically block my way to finding or for dealing with that particular problem. The other this that he's talking about is high frustration tolerance. Okay, so tolerance for dealing with unfavorable situations. That is generally not there. If things don't go according to plan, if things don't go according to the way I want them, then I am totally frustrated. Okay, so building high frustration tolerance, tolerating frustrating situations. Okay, so that is what he is referring to. So building that kind of tolerance in our lives. When I have too many people maybe at work whom I don't like or whom I don't get along well with, then I feel then that is totally, I'm getting totally frustrated. But if I have this high frustration tolerance, then maybe I am going to think of ways in which I can also change myself to some extent, or maybe look at my own weaknesses. Okay. The other, this is, he's saying that acceptance of self and others. And here REBT talks a bit differently. We all the time hear of this word self-esteem. But REBT says that even if I don't do well, maybe I'm doing a particular thing, maybe um, I may be giving a talk, okay, and maybe I don't do well. So then my self-esteem goes down. Okay, if I'm not able to face, or maybe I am undergoing a treatment, and if I'm not able to, there's something goes wrong with that treatment, then again my self-esteem goes down. Okay, I will not be able to face this any longer. Okay, so this REBT says, rational emotive behavior therapy says that I need to accept myself as a human being, irrespective of the things that I do, whether I do it well or no. My value as a human being remains, and the same is applicable to others also. So he's saying, when it comes to rational beliefs, preferences, I would prefer that if I don't have to face any disease when I'm aging, or even earlier in my life. Anti-awfulizing, not making it awful. The third is developing tolerance in our lives. And fourthly, he's saying acceptance of myself, irrespective. I might behave in a weird way. I might behave, maybe in a logical way. So accepting my own self and trying to change it. We are not saying that you stay that way, but trying to change it. But accept yourself and others, which is difficult. Okay, so he's talking about these rational and irrational beliefs. The insights which he had, okay, the insights which Albert Ellis gave us are very important. So basically, he's trying to say is, we develop all these emotional problems. We constantly go on getting upset. Why? Because we cling to these irrational beliefs. Why did he behave rudely with me? He has no right to do it. But that is not in our hands. If he's behaving rudely, we definitely, people in old age are definitely not going to get respect because the fact that they are old. Okay, so in old age, respect will have to be commanded rather than demanded. And if I have the belief that because I am old, people should respect me, then you might be in for a shock, because that might not happen everywhere you go. So that is an irrational belief which I have, that because I am old, I should be respected, whatever the situation. Okay, there are some things which you also might have to learn from the younger generation. Only then will this kind of exchange take place, and this intergenerational dialogue, which will help in building better relations between generations, happen. Okay, but if I feel that what I am saying is right because I am old, and that other people should listen to me all the time, that is not going to happen. Okay, and Ellis tells us that the only way to get better, okay, to get emotionally more stronger, is that we have to change these beliefs which are there. And it takes practice, practice, and practice. Okay, which is the most important thing. And the the uh, the way in which we can do that, how can we transform irrational beliefs into rational beliefs, is by disputing. Okay, disputing. So he's saying that I need to dispute my irrational beliefs. Okay, and generally when we go to all these REBT counselors, or even if you read books on REBT, the solution that he has given okay, for dealing with irrational beliefs is disputing. So disputing यानी क्या? Trying to get some evidence. कहाँ पे लिखा है कि मेरे साथ कुछ गलत नहीं होना चाहिए? Where is it written? Where is the evidence that people should not behave rudely with me? Why should I have pleasant and favorable situations all the time? Is my belief logical? Is it going to happen that way? Is that consistent with reality? Okay, that I should not have any disease. Is that consistent with reality? Okay, so does it follow this belief which I have, does it follow from my preferences or does it follow from my musts? So Ellis is saying that there are three these musts, these shoulds, and these oughts. I ought to be given respect, need to be taken out of our vocabulary. Okay, and that is what is most important. Okay, if I get respect, well and good. Okay, but I cannot demand it. Otherwise, it is going to cause a problem for me. Okay, and another, we generally say, I cannot stand it. If I have maybe say cancer, I cannot stand it. But there are a lot of people who are dealing with it. Okay, so this basically paves the way for actually dealing with the situation in the most healthy way. Okay, so he's saying another, this is the change in the language. So imprecise language, as I said, must, shoulds, and oughts need to be replaced by preferences. Okay, I prefer if I don't have any wrinkles, but if they are there, I need to accept them as well. Reframing. Okay, so re-evaluate beliefs as disappointing, concerning. Certain situations in my life might be disappointing. They are uncomfortable. They are extremely difficult. Cannot be. If I say that, then I'm closing the doors. Okay, and negative events also side to them. Okay, so I'll just give you a quick example. You know how negative events can also have a positive side. Recently, I was coming by train and, we have this projector in office. So I forgot that in the train. And it's a very, very expensive, projector. And, luckily, miraculously, I got this projector back in 2 hours. Okay, so I reported to the railway authorities and whatever, but I got it in 2 hours. Okay, but because because when I got the bag, um, I basically do a kind of prayer. Okay, so it is because I got the bag back. I used to pray for only some period of time, but because of that, my belief in my prayer got strengthened, and now generally I get up quite early and I pray for around 1.5 to 2 hours. Okay, so it is because I lost this bag, which is a negative event. I am now putting in more time for my prayers. So that is how this negative situation helped me to concentrate on what I think is very important. Okay, so some REBT tips. He's saying that face reality. Old age is inevitable, but at the same time, Ellis is telling us old age has its advantages, which we don't look at. There are certain advantages also apart from the concessions and benefits and whatever pensions that can some when you are going maybe to a post office or maybe airlines, you get some concessions. Apart from that, there are some advantages also to old age, and that is also something that needs to be taken into account, which people don't. Now old age is looked at also as a stage. It is a stage of life, okay, which needs to be accepted. The other, this is create my own beliefs. Okay, so I have the power to change my own beliefs. If they are irrational, I can create my own beliefs around old age. Okay, the other important thing is saying that accepting responsibility for my thoughts, actions, and feelings. Okay, so do it now. Freud talked a lot about childhood. We feel that, because I have had problems all my life, now I won't be able to actually do anything about my problems. But he says that the present is what is most important, and it is in your hands to change that irrational belief to a more realistic one. So he says, act like a scientist. So be curious about your own feelings, what all thoughts are going on in your mind. Okay, so I talked about unconditional self-acceptance. What I also wanted to tell you was that he's saying, in terms of practical tips, he's saying the most important thing is to have vital, absorbing interests. And that will help you even though there might be physical or mental decline in old age. Some interest, hobbies have to be there in which you get lost as in you are totally immersed in that. And this is what ikigai is also about, and I'm sure you have heard of ikigai. It's a very, very popular book. Okay, and it's also a philosophy where you basically find your own purpose in life. So vital absorbing interests what is the most important thing, and that will help you to sail through old age. Get interested in something, and basically he's saying that commit yourself to studying, commit yourself to learning something new, commit yourself. That is what generally does not happen. And he's saying commitment is therapy, and generally we see that older adults are not willing to do that. Okay, be interested in others and yourself. Remain flexible. Be open to learning new things. Remain flexible. There are a lot of things which you can learn from the younger generation also. Okay, and that is what you need to also think about. Accept uncertainty. So Ellis is telling us that if Martians, people on Mars, ever find out how human beings think, they will kill themselves laughing. Okay, the way in which we think irrationally about things. Okay, so if people from another planet, they think the way we think, that things should go our own way, or that, I should not have to accept old age, or if old age is there, then there are a lot of negative things only which will happen. Another thing he's quote, which Ellis has mentioned, is the best years of your life are the ones in which you decide your problems are your own. You do not blame them on your mother, on the ecology, or the president. You realize that you control your own destiny. Okay, so he's basically telling us that these whatever irrational beliefs have to be examined. We have to change them into more rational beliefs so that we are able to face life in a more calm and a graceful way. Okay, so thank you very much. You can read up on REBT because there are a lot of books, there are a lot of articles, which are there. Albert Ellis has written more than 80 books on this subject, and there's huge amount of information on the internet as well, which you can go through. Okay, but thank you very much for listening to me patiently. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amrita. Very much. Anybody has any quick questions? We can take that.